All right, welcome back to Tucked In Wizards. Today we have a very special episode for you. We're going to be doing a tier list of the last 10 Wizard seasons where we're ranking each season based on different criteria that we'll go over a bit later. But before we get into that, me and Ben are just going to do a little bit of free agency reactions just because a lot has happened since the last time we were talking to you guys. So why don't you lead us into that, Ben?
Yeah, a lot has happened. Summer League started yesterday, the Lakers and the Kings, and then some other teams. I think the Heat and the Warriors played. Wizards haven't even announced their roster yet. I think right now it's the three rookies and then this guy Trevon Robinson from Portland. Don't know who that is. Hopefully I'll learn and he'll make the team. But quick free agents, the big ones. Paul George obviously moved to the Sixers. You had Klay Thompson move to Dallas. Isaiah Hartenstein moving to OKC. And then like a couple days ago, or maybe it was even yesterday, DeRozan going back to Sacramento. I say back, but isn't he from California?
Yeah, he's from LA.
Yeah.
I think he's from Compton.
I think he is.
They're not like us. Yeah.
And then KCP also going to Orlando from Denver. So some quick hit free agents. A lot of people re-signed to. Biggest move so far, obviously Paul George, I think. Really helps the Sixers. You were talking earlier how it'd be really funny if he went to Philly and then just averaged the same as Tobias Harris. It's just like a fit issue.
It'd help my Embiid as a ball hog and can't coexist with other stars narrative that is entirely unsubstantiated.
Yeah.
Well, I think honestly, biggest free agent moving, biggest impact signing would be Valanciunas to the Wizards, in my opinion.
Yeah, Valanciunas to the Wizards.
Shores up a lot of our kind of worrying spots at center. We had kind of some inexperienced people, so having a guy who's been here for a while and had a very successful, objectively NBA career would be great. And he can teach Sarr a few things, let him play his most comfortable position at power forward. Really, I think, makes the team a lot stronger developmentally. And I don't think it's going to lead to that many more wins, if any. So,
yeah.
Really, really, really good.
He's not going to play any closing minutes like he did with the New Orleans. Yeah. He was rarely ever in that closing lineup. So, not a huge loss for them, but a good pickup for the Wizards. Other Wizard stuff. Shamit was waived, his $11 million. They cannot find a trade partner, and then Vukcevic signed on a two-way. So exciting stuff. Glad Vukcevic is back. Anthony Gill is still a free agent, so they got to work that out. And Tyus Jones is also back still.
I think Tyus
less need for Tyus now that they got Brogdon. So
I think if anything, we're signing trading one of Brogdon or Tyus, and it's probably going to be Tyus because I think Brogdon. Brogdon has a lot more has less value and more to teach the young guys.
I did like Tyus. He had one of his best seasons with the Wizards, so appreciate that guy.
I like Tyus a lot. He's very good. Helped a lot on the Wizards. Super professional. I mean, the second you knew that three ball was going up, it was going in. He was really fun to watch.
Over 40%.
Both him and Shamit, loved watching them, but not too moved by them moving. Nobody really. At this point, we only have maybe 2 or 3 players that'll be here when we're trying to be good. A lot of guys are going to get moved, which is sad.
Yeah.
But why don't we jump over to the tier list?
Yes, sir.
I've got 5 categories here that we're going to be sorting these teams into. First one is going to be thought they could go all the way. Obviously, that doesn't mean that they had a good chance even to go all the way, but just at the moment we thought they could go all the way. They kind of tricked us into thinking they were maybe a better team than they were. Then we have fun to watch. I think this is where a lot of teams are going to land, where not good enough to really make any noise, but you could they're good enough to kind of trick yourself into thinking they were going to do something, that 13-2 start to the season or whatever. That was really fun to watch. The rest of the season wasn't, but that beginning was. And then I think this category is going to be a little sparse, good but frustrating.
I don't.
This means they were a good team. They were good enough to compete with better teams maybe on a night-to-night basis, but you kind of knew that they kind of had a ceiling on them, and a lot of these teams probably didn't even reach that ceiling. So it just felt like there was a lot left on the table, a lot of meat left on the bone. So I think most of the teams are going to be ending up in this next tier, which is bad and frustrating.
That pretty much sums up the Wizards for the last 5 years at least.
Let's try 50 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, you knew that they were going to be bad. Kind of like the last tier, you knew they were going to be bad, and somehow they ended up being worse than you thought they were going to be, and you were like, you knew that it was going to be the 10 seed at the end of the season, and more like, oh, we'll compete next year. It's like, Jesus Christ, just fucking end this shit.
Just blow up.
And then the last category is going to be never mention this team ever again. This is the team that the instant you see it, you hear about it, that PTSD comes up. You start imagining, whatever Jan Nahimi, bricking, just whatever bad things happen that season immediately flood into your brain. And again, I think this is only going to be a few teams because, like,
I don't think this is going to be.
For all the Wizards have, maybe it just might.
And we're
be
pretty,
like,
we're pretty
hey,
high on basketball in general, so I feel
like I can find some enjoyment,
yeah.
And I feel like a lot of the Wizards teams, like maybe they underperformed a bit, but it was never like a collapse when we thought they were going to be good. Like when they were good, they competed, and when they were bad, obviously they didn't, but we never expected them to.
There is one year I can think of that might have to go.
Okay.
Well,
but we'll see soon. We'll see soon. So we've got every season from 2014 to 2024. I came into basketball a little more recently than Ben did. So some of these years I'm not going to remember too well, so I'm going to be leaning on Ben a little more. But why don't we just jump right into it with 2014 to 15?
2014-15. So you're going to have to remember the roster, but this is Paul Pierce.
Yes.
John Wall, Bradley Beal. This, for me, goes in fun to watch.
Okay.
They had a good playoff run. They had a game winner from Paul Pierce, if I remember. They made the second round. This was their second year of really being like a good playoff team, and they kind of delivered. They were better than the first year. So for me, this was fun. It was like kind of my first years getting into basketball. I have good memories of John Wall and Beal, so I would put this in fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. I didn't personally get to watch this team live, but I've seen a lot of people talk about this team. I've seen a lot of like nostalgia for this team and like how fun they were to watch. And like it's always fun to have a guy like Paul Pierce on the team, even if he's past his prime, which is a Wizard specialty.
Yeah.
Having like Paul Pierce, Michael Jordan, like those guys are just fun to have around. And like you said, they'll hit a game winner and stuff sometimes.
Yeah,
so
and they swept Toronto in the
first
first round too, which I remember. That was super fun. And then the Hawk series, I vividly remember. When was this? 2014. So I think, what was this, freshman year of high school or something?
Yeah,
I vividly
14,
remember
15.
watching the Wizards and the Caps both in Game 6 and going back and forth. And then I watched the Caps like give up an overtime goal to lose the series, and then I flipped over to the Wizards and watched Al Horford hit like the go-ahead bucket to lose. And I was like, this is a bad time, but fun to watch still.
Yeah, I think these teams are maybe going to be a little influenced by nostalgia for sure. Because like Ben just said, 2014, I was 15. So that would be probably the start of the 2014 season would probably be start of sophomore year in high school. And I mean, when I was in high school, just watching sports was really fun because I didn't know a lot about sports, and it's just like you're with your friends and things are happening, so it's always fun. So I think that might influence it a bit for sure. But moving on, we have 2015 to 16 season.
So let me jog your memory a little bit about this season. They went 41-41 and finished 10th place. That sounds super familiar, right?
Yeah.
Bradley Beal missed a lot of time. He missed 30 games this season. For me, I would put this in good but frustrating. I know I'm kind of like... The good is really... It's doing a lot of work there because they were a 500 team. But we know this team is good because we just saw them sweep the Raptors. We just saw them make the playoffs. And then we'll see it next year them do the same thing. They just... For whatever reason, didn't have it this year. It could have been the Beal injury. It could have been Pierce not being there anymore. It could have been a lot of things. This was Kelly Oubre's rookie year, but... This was frustrating.
I like good but frustrating here because, like, honestly, there's a lot of different 500 seasons where, like, if you're getting to 500 when you're a young team, you're kind of exceeding expectations. Like, that's a good season for, like, a team like that, for sure. But for a team like this that showed that they can kind of... They're on the up and up, and this kind of seems like trending in the wrong direction.
It's like a down year, yeah.
Exactly. I definitely see how good but frustrating could get in there because they're better than what they're playing.
Yeah.
But they're playing down to their competition, which
And I get it because this team was
with.
young. Like Walt was 25, Beal was 22, Porter was 22, but then you still had a lot of good vets. You had Gortat, you had Gary Neal, who literally was just in the finals. Nene, some other guys, Morris, Jared Dudley was on this team, Garrett Temple. So good but frustrating, I think, Fitz. And I honestly don't remember a ton from this year. There weren't any like huge like moments.
Yeah, it kind of seems like just kind of like a down year that Wizards fans are going to try and forget, like last year.
But not never mention this team again because they were still like, it was still
Yeah, they're fun
like
to watch.
they were better than like we've seen the Wizards be in the last 50 years. So, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they were like fun to watch, but they weren't quite. Like they were disappointing, but at least night to night, on a night to night basis, they were entertaining. You know? Yeah. And that's a lot more that can be said about some of these teams. But we'll get there.
This next year is
2016 to 2017.
So I want to put this in. I think this is the only team I want to put in. Thought they could go all the way, and so just a reminder: this is Scott Brooks' first year as head coach.
Yeah.
They were 5th in points per game. They sucked at defense, which is a classic Scott Brooks team. But this is the year they missed out on Kevin Durant in free agency and Al Horford. They missed out on both, and then Panic signed Heaney and someone else, Andrew Nicholson.
Oh God.
So like sour taste there. But I don't know. This team gave me hope. They won 49 games. They took Boston to 7. John Wall hit that game winner. They were never beating the Warriors. They were never beating the Prime Warriors. They probably weren't beating the Prime Cavs. But this was the only team that has given me any semblance of competitive hope in the last, like, in my entire time of being a Wizards fan. So
yeah,
that's why I want to put them. I thought they could go all the way.
I definitely agree. I was gonna argue for thought they could go all the way too, because like to me this is the last Wizards team that like you could feel
the energy.
Like, the energy, exactly. You feel the buzz around town. Like people really had expectations for this team, and like this was one.
And they were close to beating them if it wasn't for Kelly Olynyk.
Yeah, I would think. I mean, conference finals would be like a win for this team for sure. And like this was like people in high school were like, oh shit, like talking about the Wizards and stuff. Like this was the only time the Wizards actually had buzz.
Yeah.
In the last for the next 8 years or whatever.
And you have one of the most iconic moments of the last like 10 years where John Wall hit that game winner to force Game 7. It's kind of sad that like that happened and then they just lost Game 7 anyway, but still a super.
Yeah, cool but I think losing Game 7 doesn't take away from that moment.
No, it doesn't.
They had like him and Beal had that like embrace at the end, and like Beal has said that they were like before the game they talked and they said like we're not losing this shit at home. Like whatever happens the next game, like we are not letting our fans down and losing this game at home.
Yeah. And
to me, like that encapsulates kind of what I've loved about the Wizards teams that I've loved, which is like, you know, they know they're in kind of a shitty spot. It's the Wizards. They know that everything's stacked against them, but they want to do something for the city. They want to give the fans something to cheer for, and
that's why I never understand the Beal hate. I think the Beal hate comes from people who don't remember these years.
Yeah, I mean, I love Beal, and like, say what you want about Beal, but he is legitimately a very, very skilled player. Like, I'll never forget him battling Steph Curry for that.
The
scoring title, and like, he was one of the only players that I have ever seen at that level that wanted to be in DC. He never wanted to leave.
Yeah.
He just went to Phoenix because he talked with the front office and they said, "Hey man, we're gonna tank." He said, "You know, that's not what I'm looking for at this point in my career."
And
which I respect.
Fleeced the shit out of Phoenix after.
Yeah. And after his agent fleeced the shit out of us. Yeah. Whatever.
Hey.
So you know, I don't get the Beal hate either. Like, it's like hating on Wall to me. Like you can't hate on either of them. They're legends in DC, or they should be.
And they will. And this year, kind of, if they won that Game 7, man, I know they wouldn't have beaten Cleveland, but I know LeBron was like, "We're scared of the Wizards." Basically. Yeah. He didn't say that outright, but he said something like that.
I mean, I think that series, the Wizards and the Celtics, were very, very, very evenly matched up, which is why it was such a great series. I still think that was one of the best, you know, second round series we've had in the last however many years. Like that was a great series.
It kind of sucked that like. We all kind of knew it didn't matter because the Warriors had Kevin Durant, but...
Yeah, that's what I didn't like about those years. That's actually what prevented me from getting into basketball for so long, because I saw basketball and I was like, oh shit, this is like a really cool sport. And, like, I was really into soccer, which is kind of similar, I think, in a weird way. But I was just like, why would I watch if it's going to be Golden State, Cleveland every single year? I just didn't get it. And now, obviously, I wish I got into it a little bit.
And the Wizards, they could have done it if they won that game, but they didn't. So.
No, they didn't. Anyway, moving on to 2017 to 18.
Is this the year
I do know a bit about this year. Yeah, this is the year John Wall got injured. Actually, it might have been the next year.
John Wall played 41 games this year, so this was an injury
he must have.
that John Wall had.
Yeah, I mean he's had like 7 with us. So,
So this year
but
they went 43-39 and finished 8th, and then lost in the first round to Toronto, which was actually a pretty close series. I think they were better than their record.
to me, this was a disappointing year because of what happened the year before,
Yeah.
where a lot of Wizards fans felt like we were knocking on that door, we were just about to break through, and then we get these frustrating wall injuries. We start getting all these weird like players being unhappy and not playing up to their potential and stuff, and just like weird front office mismanagements. Like this is where all that kind of started.
Yeah, I mean it's been going on for a while, but with this core, this is kind
This
of
core,
well, the
yeah.
last year when they signed Yami and Andrew Wilson, but we really saw the effects of that this year.
Yes, that was kind of laying the groundwork for what happened this year. But the team before was still very good, and like that's what made this so tough. Was that we had just come off a great run, and we were kind of seemed poised to make another, and then Wall gets injured, and like people forget this was during a time where there was a legit art debate over whether John Wall or Steph Curry was a better point guard. Although that was more 2014 to like 20.
Yeah, and Russell Westbrook was in there.
Yeah, Westbrook was in there too. But this was kind of like the tail end of that. He was still in that conversation, and then just never really was the same after these injuries.
Yeah.
Which to me, it leaves a sour taste in my mouth. Like, this team was objectively not bad, and I do think they were better than their record, but just the...
I'll put them in good but frustrating again.
I'd be down for that.
Because they did make the playoffs, so it's not like... It wasn't a lost year, but John Wall being out for 41 games...
And in hindsight, it's a really tough year to think back on.
They're just kind of mid.
Like, yeah, and like what would fuck us over for the next 5 years was kind of like foretold here.
Yeah.
So it's kind of painful looking back and being like, ugh.
Ty Lawson was on this team apparently, which I didn't know.
I did not know that. When did he play for the Wizards? The Wizards have the weirdest like 1 year players that are, like,
yeah,
super washed. Like, yeah, as we'll see next with my guy.
With Dwight Howard.
Yeah, so this is 2018 to 19 season. I don't really remember this season very well at all. This was like right
this
before I was getting into basketball.
So John Wall, this is the season John Wall legitimately got like the injury that ended his career pretty much. So I'm going to put this in, never mention this team ever again.
Yeah.
Also, why was Dwight Howard on the team? I don't know. Why did Dwight Howard say they were going to win the championship? Like, what?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. He was like, I really thought that team had the potential to go all the way.
It was like
I guess he was saying if Wall was healthy, but he was already kind of washed.
They had Ron Baker on the team. Like, look at all these dudes. Like, who are some of these guys? Like, Okoro White. I don't know who that
Who the
is.
fuck is Okoro White? Yeah,
Sam
this was
Decker
like...
was on the team.
We had a few, like, weird years of, like, we would just sign whoever was there just to be like, maybe they'll make a difference. And this was, like, the peak of that. Just, like, the most random people on the team that you've never thought of as a Wizard.
We did get Jordan McRae,
Actually,
though. That's my king.
Oh, the double king.
That's my king.
Love that guy.
But he didn't really play that much until the next year.
No. Yeah,
I still
this
follow
is
him
a
on
really
Twitter.
weird team. Trevor Ariza, Sam Decker, Jeff Green.
Sam Decker played like a good amount of games too. Dwight Howard played 9 games for the Wizards this year, by the way.
That's so weird.
Yeah, this year is just like I've already wiped from my mind. So you just
like,
never mention this team ever again. Let's move on.
Is this rookie Gary Payton the second? What the fuck?
I think so. Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. 2019 to 2020. I think I chose a picture that pretty accurately depicts what type of year this was with Jan Mahimi and Ish Smith at front and center. This was just another
IT year too.
Yeah, just another kind of disappointing year.
I would also
I'll never forget going to... This was one of my first Wizards games I ever went to in person. I went with Ben, actually.
Yeah.
We were watching.
Is that when IT
It was with Ben and our other friend, Ben. Yeah, we got there. It was 3 minutes in, and IT got instantly like thrown out of the game for some random bullshit. We were so pissed.
Yeah.
And then it was just like the most boring, shitty game I've ever seen, where the Wizards just slowly got blown out all game. Just... That was
But
really
we did get
bad game.
Jonathan Williams getting a double for a free Big Mac at McDonald's, and Jordan McRae scored like 30 that game or something.
Yeah, Jordan McRae went crazy. I remember every time we went with Jordan McRae.
Jordan McRae was like going off.
Nuts. Yeah.
He started 4 games. We went to one of those 4 games, and he
went crazy.
He went crazy. That might have been his career high, legitimately.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm trying to look.
I'll probably always remember Jordan McRae because of those games. That McDouble King.
Here we go. Where's his?
What's he up to now?
I don't know. I follow him on Twitter, but I don't think he does. Yeah, it's not his career high. His career high was when he was at Cleveland. But the game we went to against Portland, he had 35 points. That was the second best scoring he had.
Oh, that was a really fun game.
Because that was also Melo. Because I remember we saw that dude who was like, I'm going to get an autograph from Melo.
Oh, yeah. He had the ball, and he was so excited to get the autograph from Melo, and just, like, obviously never
I wonder if he
would do that.
Yeah, Jordan McRae, one of my favorite, like, low-key Wizards. He was so fun in those couple games that you just went crazy.
I don't know if you remember, we talked to that guy for a little more, and we were like, oh, it's cool, man. Where are you sitting? And he's like, row 220. Like, how are you going to get your ball signed up there? Like,
he's going to throw it down.
What's the plan? I love just the weird interactions we always have with Wizards fans, like the guy who was telling us in December that we really needed to trade for Draymond Green.
Yeah, he didn't know the history.
No, and he's like, why did we trade Beal? We're so ass now. We should have been competing.
It was like, yeah, that's... What?
What's the point, guy?
That just goes to show that I feel like a lot of casual fans are just kind of in it for the vibes, which I'm here for, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, that's the fun of basketball. You just watch it for the vibes, watch it for stats. You can watch it for whatever you want.
Yeah. This was also the year that Creole ones will remember, where there was that really big argument in Wizards fandom about if Isaac Bonga or Jerome Robinson was better.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, dudes were, going at it. It was, like, the biggest mid-off I've ever seen. I was on the Bonga
you were
side.
a Bonga head.
I was a Bonga head. But to be fair, Jerome Robinson was awful. So that's not even, like, a bad thing.
He was so bad. I'll always remember him being cut right after, like, a starting spree where he was just, like, one of the worst players I've ever seen touch the court. And Tommy Shepard was just like,
I'm tired of this.
You're not playing this shit anymore. I'm sick of these shitty-ass three-guard lineups. And cut him, like, game day. That's crazy.
So we have a lot of good memories, but I would still put these guys and never mention this team ever again.
Yeah.
I think that's so fair.
That was a rough year. That was a really rough year.
Yeah.
Moving on to a year that I actually
This has been my favorite year of the last, couple.
Yeah. I mean, I think this has been my favorite year of me watching personally because of, kind of outside circumstances. Where, this was during kind of a tough COVID year where I was finishing out college. And it gave me a nice, like me, my girlfriend, and my close friend would watch the Wizards every night that they were on, the whole game. And, I remember with them, we watched the Nets comeback where, they scored, 6 points.
One of my favorite games. This was also,
seconds.
The year...
Oh, man.
Kind of the year that Ernie was fired.
Yes.
Which,
and that Westbrook trade was, the first... trade I've ever seen where the Wizards fleeced the other team, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah, I remember there was a game where John Wall played one game in Houston, and he went off, and we were like, "Oh, we did it again," but he just made it out, which was really sad because I really like John Wall.
I really like John Wall too. I hope he can he said he was open to returning to the Wizards. I don't think it would ever happen because at the crux, the whole thing was him versus Ted, and Ted not approving of his whatever gang bullshit or whatever he was saying, just some weird racist bullshit.
Thing,
yeah. But I really wish we could bring him back. I don't think it'll happen, but I hope at least he gets honored someday. We really haven't done it.
He should get a Wizards Hall of Fame thing.
I think so too. But anyway,
this team was fun. This team was really fun.
This team was really fun. And there was a period where when Westbrook came and we weren't that good. Classic Westbrook experience, and then post All-Star break. Oh my God, this was
Look at
the best I've ever
if
seen
you look at
with
the beginning of the season, we started 3-12. No, I'm sorry, we started. Let's even go further. 6-17.
Oh, no.
It was just. I remember just being like, "Oh, this sucks," and then we had just a crazy run to end the season. Westbrook was just going insane. It was the last really good All-Star Westbrook year. I think, in his career.
Yeah, it was.
Rui had a great year. This is what I really thought Rui would be able to take off.
Yeah,
and then he had the same year for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Even Bertans was doing good. He
Oh, this was the Bertans year he got paid, wasn't it?
I think this was the year
he was
after.
Just going off.
I think this was the year after.
No, this was when Bertans was starting to decline a bit, but we were like, "Oh, don't."
But he was still
he'll get it together.
Yeah, because we had hope because he was still shooting 40% from 3.
Yeah, he just wasn't shooting a lot.
Yeah.
It was a weird
It just
year
didn't
for
feel
him.
like. And the Robin Lopez hook shot. I'll never forget Robin Lopez going on 10-0 runs on his own with only hook shots.
So fun. Westbrook would just give him the ball and just back up and then hook.
I remember I was watching a game
everyone.
With my dad, and we were watching the pregame, and Robin Lopez was like warming up with the hook shots, and my dad was like, "Why is he warming up with hook shots? Like, is he gonna actually do that in the game?" And then in the game, he scored like 12 points or something on all hook shots.
Yeah, he was good for like 10 to 15 a game with only hook shots.
Yeah, it was like insane.
It
didn't make any. And he was the slowest person of all time.
Yeah, honestly, if I think about it, this is where some of my favorite Wizards players come from. You know,
yeah,
like, this
we
is
got
where
Robin Lopez,
Ish Smith played his heart
Raul
out.
Neto,
Raul Neto would come in, and
Russell
we still
Westbrook.
got the shitty ass 3-guard lineups.
We traded for Daniel Gafford.
Smith and Neto would play so hard that it didn't matter. They were so fun to watch.
The 3-guard lineup where
Gafford,
nobody could shoot.
Yeah, that was rough. But, you know, Scott Brooks aside, this was a really fun year, and like it was fun to see them overcome what Scott Brooks was kind of putting the obstacle. But it was like it kind of frustrated me because this was the year where I could really see it. I was like, we're leaving like 5 to 8 wins on the table because of entirely Scott Brooks. This is crazy.
Yeah,
and then we fired him and like instantly like became
we were
a lot better.
Bad.
We were bad, but like we were winning the games we were supposed to.
Yeah, it was more like a talent thing. The one thing that was really sad about this year is the Thomas Bryant injury, because I remember the first 10 games he was just going nuts. Like he was going insane, and then he tore his ACL, and he unfortunately hasn't really been the player that he was in those 10 games. And he probably would have regressed. But in those 10 games, like his stats are insane. He shot 43% from 3. He averaged 15 points. Like
I really thought it was going to be a breakout year for him, but it's too bad he couldn't really keep it together health-wise, and like never really managed to get there again. And like I thought he was going to be good on the Heat. I didn't think he was going to be good on the Lakers or Denver, but
he'll always have that picture.
Yeah.
Of LeBron's vest where he's calling for the ball. Are you putting this in fun to watch?
Yeah, I'm putting this in fun to watch. I mean, to me, this was like the most fun Wizards team, regardless of where they ended up. Like that Sixers series sucked, but nobody expected them to do anything anyway.
Yeah.
And we also were the first ones to figure out the back-of-bend strategy.
That's true. That was another. I'll give Scott Brooks credit for that.
Yeah, and I'll give Scott Brooks credit for coming up and being like, "This bum can't shoot," like publicly, and also I'll give Justin Kutcher credit. I never give him credit, but I'll give him credit for just shitting on Ben Simmons constantly every time. It was so funny. He just get on the mic and just shit on Ben Simmons for like 2 minutes straight. And then Ben Simmons would like smoke an easy layup and be like, "See, this guy's ass."
The only good thing that Kutcher said, and with this next year when he called like Harrell, like they had 3 centers. It was like Harrell, Gafford, and it was the third one. Thomas Bryant, the 3-headed monster. Bryant. It was like the 3 worst centers in the league.
That was so funny. He had like some moments, but then he would also call
he had some
Israeli.
He had some.
And he'd go Konnichiwa.
Yeah, he just had some. Be like, just a weird dude.
This is also a weird year because I think this was the year. This next year was the year that we had that like backup commentator say something about Kevin Porter Jr.'s dad, that he was like a great shooter or something because he thought he was Kevin Porter.
Oh yeah.
He was in jail for manslaughter.
Yeah, that was
or like murder. Yeah,
just not a lot of good. But we did have 3 games of Craig Sword. You remember that guy?
That's true. I did love Craig Sword. Like I thought he was not. I didn't think he was gonna be good. I thought he could maybe be good for like a couple games. And like I liked the beginning of this year.
Yeah, we went 10-3, and I was fooled. I'm gonna be honest, I was fooled. But
yeah.
Overall,
Dinwiddie is my least favorite Wizard of all time.
Yeah, Dinwiddie. Yeah,
I fucking hate Dinwiddie.
He didn't really like being.
No, and like even
like
in those games, no, he hates everything. And like even those years where we were good, or those like whatever 15 games we were good.
Yeah,
like,
he wasn't good.
He wasn't good in those games at all. He would just score like a stupid bullshit game winner, and then everyone would be like, "Look how good he's playing!" And it'd be like, "He got like 15 points."
Yeah, that's what gave me actually hope for that year. I was like, man, we're 10-3, and Dinwiddie hasn't even started yet, and then he never did. I would put this in bad and frustrating because we were bad and it was frustrating.
Good reasoning. Good reasoning. Yeah, Dinwiddie just pissed me off this year, and like him and Harrell started just blowing up the locker room. I did like the KP trade. That was like halfway through this year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
But that was a weird KP year where he couldn't put it together. Yeah, Bertans was ass.
KP scored 22 when he came over, so he was pretty good. But it was like, I don't know. Beal only played 40 games. It was
The
like
KP
this is the
era
start
was
of
fun,
yeah.
but I didn't expect much from it.
We didn't even talk about those years that we never are going to mention again. How Beal was averaging 30 in those seasons.
Yeah,
It was just
that's
like
true.
this random like explosion from Beal, and then this. Besides the Westbrook year, where he was also really, really good, and that was the race with Curry for the scoring title, I think.
Yeah, that was Westbrook year.
This is kind of the start of his decline, where he was just kind of injured all the time, and we saw that he only played 40 games this year.
That's definitely true, but I will defend him a bit in that, like, this team was just very, very weirdly constructed, and it, like, kind of limited the things that he liked to do.
It wasn't like the Westbrook team, which really
No.
enabled him.
Yeah, because, like, the Westbrook team, he's really good off ball. And the Westbrook team was like, Westbrook's going to handle it, and then just, like, get ready to cut or shoot, which is the two things he's the best at. So it, like, really played to his strengths. And then losing Westbrook, you had to make that trade, but losing Westbrook really, I think, limited Beal. Like, that was a really good pairing for him. He's good paired with a ball-dominant guard that can push the pace. And, like, that's always where Beal has thrived.
That's what John Wall
Which is
was
why,
saying.
like, I never understood that Suns trade.
Yeah,
like,
I was going to talk
he's
about
not
that.
good. He's not good when you slow the game down. You're just ISO. That's not Beal. It's not who he is.
Yeah, he had. It was like who it was for like those 2 years, but even those 2 years, I mean, we had point guards next to him that would push the pace. Like, even Ish Smith was a dude that would push the pace.
Yeah. He
but
also
yeah,
looked uncomfortable in those 2 years that we didn't have that. You know, like, it clearly wasn't the best fit for him. And, like, the times he's looked the best is when he could really utilize his cutting. Because I really believe he's one of the best cutters in the league. Like, he's great cutting. But he's constantly in these positions where he can't showcase that because there's no way to get him the ball. Like, who cares if you do a great cut on the Suns because Kevin Durant's not passing you.
Yeah, that's why I was also confused when they said he was going to play point guard. I think that's the Devin Booker job.
I think so, too.
Anyway, so we're putting
I think
this
it's a
bad and
separate
frustrating.
player. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I'm
these
down for
ties
bad and
shows.
frustrating. I liked the team, and, like, this was the year where I was like, oh, like, this was the year I really gave up on Rui. And, like, during the trade, I didn't like it, but I was like, I kind of was resigned to it. I didn't understand it if we weren't going to tank, but it made sense later.
We're also still missing a year, by the way.
I don't think so.
Yeah, we're missing, not last year, but the Johnny Davis rookie year.
It didn't... Wasn't that what... Oh, yeah, whatever.
But honestly...
that one's going bad and frustrating anyway.
Or never mention this team again, because that was, like... We saw nothing happened from that year. No. Beal didn't play at all. He played 50 games. Wow, he played a lot more games than I remember him playing. He played 50 games. Kuzma was really good, but we had these, like, 3 guys in Beal, Kuz, and KP who, like, on paper should have been good together. They all averaged over 20 points, and then the team was still really bad. And they missed on Johnny Davis entirely. Like, Jalen Williams was right there, I believe, and they missed on Johnny. Imagine if they draft Jalen Williams instead. The team probably makes the playoffs. Yeah. Just having that other guy.
Yeah, and it was disappointing too because Johnny Davis was sold as a defense-first guy that can, like, push our floor up and, like, really contribute immediately, which I was like, I don't know about that. Like, I don't know if that's what we should be looking for this team, but, you know, if that's what he is, then maybe we can do something. And, like, we had some high expectations that year. I remember being like, oh, maybe they could be a, like, 5 or 6 seed.
Yeah, my expectations were making the play-in, and they couldn't even do that, so...
Yeah.
Bad and frustrating for me. Obviously, we don't have the picture up, but just know.
No.
22-23, bad and frustrating. The one thing I will say is Taj Gibson was kind of fun, which is a weird thing. Oh, this is also the Will Barton trade, which didn't work out at all.
No.
This was the year Tommy Shepard lost his job.
Yeah.
It was just bad move after bad move.
And I think the Johnny Davis pick has really lost him his job. Like, missing that bad on a pick that's supposed to be
that you needed
now
that
ready
you
to
needed,
contribute, like, that's really bad. And then, like, I mean, we'll see it the next year. I mean, from there, I think it's only been up with our picks. So and I mean, like, Tommy was good at trades, but that's not how you build.
And he made a bad trade with the KCP one for Will Barton.
I still believe that was more of a favor for KCP, where KCP I think probably came to them.
But when you're running an org, like,
we got to get out.
We handing out favors now.
Yes. No, yes, you do. If you want players to re-sign
That's
and
true.
come to your team, you do need to do
That's
that.
true.
Yes.
That's true.
As you can see with every star player ever, and even like Mikal asked out, and they were like, "Okay, Mikal, we'll do that for
They
you."
got a lot
just,
for that.
No, they did. It was a great trade for them, but like, I don't know if they even make that trade if he doesn't ask out because they've been very firm with like, oh, we've gotten good offers before, but we want to build around Mikal, and I think it took Mikal going, "Hey, I want to go to New York," for them to go, "Okay, well, yeah, we can make that happen for you." And then, of course, they got an insane haul, so worked out for everyone.
All right, 2 years
Moving on
left.
to last year, 2023 to 2024.
First year of the tank.
I am very conflicted about.
I want to put this in fun to watch. I really enjoyed watching this team. I had no expectations at all going in.
Yeah.
Poole struggled at first, but he kind of came into his own a little bit as the season went on. I don't know. This was just kind of a fun season. Denny had some really bright moments.
I had a lot of fun too. I think a lot about where these teams get placed depends on
The
expectations going in.
Yeah.
And the expectation last year was we're going to be bad, and Bilal is going to be in the G League all year. And Bilal was not in the G League all year.
Yeah.
So already you were like, oh, this guy can contribute. We already had a decent pick, and like Vukcevic near the end of the year was really fun to watch, and like there's some really bright spots, and like obviously we got blown out most of the games, and like
But we didn't even get blown out a lot of the games. A lot of the games were relatively
that's true.
close.
They were pretty close. Yeah, and I think everything after Keefe took over was really, I think, encouraging to see. Because Wes Unseld was like, he was a Tommy pick for sure, and it was like I was one of the guys that actually liked Wes Unseld, but you kind of had to admit at the end, it's like this team is not playing any different. Like this team's played the same under every coach. And Keefe came in and immediately was like, no, Poole, you're taking the bench.
Yeah.
We're focusing on defense. Like, it's not okay for you guys to just fuck around on defense anymore. Like, we got to actually build something here. And all the players have spoken very highly about, like, he's putting us in the best position to win, and he's putting me individually in the best position to, like, actually do things. And one of the things I really liked about him was I heard that he, like, got everyone together and was like, look, this is your role. This is what you do. You don't need to do more. You don't need to do any less. Like, we need you to do this, which is I think it's very needed because basketball can be very chaotic. So, feeling secure to know, like, okay, well, if my job is to come out and play defense and I miss a couple shots, I know Keefe's gonna have my back because he said like he wants me to emphasize defense. So I don't need to worry about missing some shots.
If he's still playing. So.
Exactly. So it's like, it simplifies the game a lot, which I think that's the job of the coach. You want to simplify the game as much as you can. Where like that's what you saw Joe Mazzulla do so well this year, where he was like, "Look, guys, we just need to play." Like I'm going to be honest, he had a bit of an easier job because of the level of talent he had. So he could just be like, "Look, guys, we just need to go out and defend, and like that's all really. Like just play hard, treat every game like the same." But he simplified the game a lot for them, where he was like. Yep. This is what you need to do. If you do this, we'll win. And that's what happened, And everyone on the Celtics was like, yeah, he really helped enable us to get into this position. Obviously, Keefe's not going to be Mazzulla, and he doesn't have that situation. But it's like being able to see your coach enable the players in real time is just so encouraging. After years of having the worst
I think also
available.
Just having a new front office and having some semblance of an identity, like we're going to push the pace really push, we're going to score, we're going to get out and run. It's just kind of refreshing. Obviously when they were good, which I guess we didn't really talk about this, but like when they were good in those years that we thought they could actually do it, their identity was really on the defensive end, and we're going to lock down, we're going to sit in that chair. And this team was like very pace. And then those teams where we don't want to remember, they didn't have an identity. It was just give the ball to Beal and get out of the way. One of the funniest moments from this season, though, this past season that we just watched, was when they played the Sixers earlier in the season. And it was like Gallinari starting at center. Yeah. And Embiid would score a bunch, and then Gallinari would come out, and Muscala would come in. And it was like, oh, this didn't even get better.
No, yeah, we had a rough center lineup this year. But like we were saying, at least there's direction.
Yeah, there's direction. I think we'll be better next year.
Yeah, I think so too. Because like even in 2021, in the other fun to watch, there was no direction. Like we knew we were gonna be just as bad. It was just like in the moment, it was really fun.
It was, yeah.
But we knew we weren't building anything long term or anything like that.
No, it was just like a 1 year thing with Westbrook. But I think Westbrook did help guys like Avdia. I know Avdia's not on the team anymore, but he really helped him out, like,
I think so too. He really took him under his wing a lot.
So.
And I think he really helped out. Was this was Kispert's rookie season, right? No, was that
No,
the
that
next
was the
season?
next year.
That
This
the
was
next
Denny's
season.
rookie season.
I was trying to.
He helped out
there
Rui a
was-
lot too, but Rui didn't really develop.
There was
anything more.
someone
He kind
I
of came
was-
into his own as a role player.
There was someone I was specifically thinking of Westbrook, like really helping develop. Maybe it was even like Garrison Matthews or someone like that.
Yeah,
That he
Garrison
like really
Matthews
helped
was too.
at least give a career. Because like Garrison Matthews hasn't done much, but at least he's had an okay career where like
Yeah.
he's gotten paid a few times.
Still plays
and
for
he's
the
been on teams.
Hawks, I think.
I think so. He's still in the league, but he's like on a two-way or whatever. But he's he's getting paid. The funny thing to me, I was gonna lead into this. The funny, well, this is leading into the future.
Okay.
The funny thing to me about last year going forward is I think every season for the next 2 or 3 seasons for me is gonna be fun to watch because I'm gonna have no expectations really. It's just gonna be like, oh, can our young guys develop well? And like, I mean, this year being fun to watch is really gonna hinge on Sar and if he is ready to at least be on the floor.
Yeah. I do think a lot of the fun to watch came from Bilal being like pretty good.
Yeah, because it was like exciting. You were like, oh man, this Bilal guy is actually developing really well. And then, on top having Denny have that breakout season, it was like, oh wow, we have some pieces. And then of course we traded Denny, but got 4 picks and
Yeah, you trade him at peak
Brogdon?
value. I think it's fine.
because like, is Denny that much better than Brogdon right now, 1 for 1? I don't know.
Probably, but that's more
Probably,
availability.
but yeah, exactly, and in like age and stuff. But with all the picks, I definitely think it was a good trade for us. I think it was a good trade for Portland too, especially because they're a little further along than we are.
I think it's a good win-win. Yeah,
Yeah,
Denny's gonna
it's a
fit
great
really
trade.
well there.
He is for sure. So I mean, that's just to say that this team I think is going to be fun to watch because we have so many prospects that like, if Sar is just like, oh, his offense isn't that good, but then Bub has some fun games, it would really make it really, really fun to watch.
And you never know what Jordan Poole's gonna do.
Exactly. Jordan Poole's just really fun because even if it's like he's gonna slip on the floor and try to shoot from the ground, like it's hilarious.
Yeah. Or that time where he was like rolling the ball at the court while the clock was running when they were down 10. He was just waiting. Just good stuff all around.
He's such a funny player. So yeah, I think this team's gonna be fun to watch, and like no expectations. We have 4 promising young guys that I'm gonna be paying attention to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really high on all our draft picks this year. I'm gonna be watching Vucevic a lot, like paying a lot of attention. And the thing I like about these draft picks too is they all are the type of draft picks that can come in and immediately contribute. Where like even if they're not gonna score a bunch or like parts of their games are shaky, they're long and they can defend. So they're at least going to be playable. You can have them out on the floor. And we don't really care if we get blown out, so we can just play them a bunch and see how it goes. And, I mean, there's going to be some bright spots. There's going to be rough games and stuff, but it's like, we know that going in at least. It's not like we're expecting a season where we're making the play-in and we fall out of the play-in entirely, We're going to be probably the worst team in the entire NBA next year. Oh, actually, I do want to bring this up real quick.
The Nets are pretty bad.
I did see that Zach Lowe he had a really... I think kind of a weird take where he was, I think he said in general tanking is going to be very difficult this year because there's a lot of bad teams that are tanking. But I was looking at it and I was like, are there really any teams that are tanking more than the Wizards right now? I don't think so. Because his argument was like, oh, you have Washington, you have Portland, you have Charlotte, you have Brooklyn, you have San Antonio, like you have... I think he named like 7 or 8 teams that are all tanking in his eyes extremely hard right now. But I was like, all of those teams have like maybe not a star level player now, but at least a star level prospect that has shown a lot of promise, which we don't have at all. And like, I don't know if I'm missing something, but just looking at the landscape of the league and like the tanking teams, I think we are significantly worse. And if not the worst team in the league, 100%, we are at least a bottom 4 team, which is the same odds anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. You cut out for the first part, but you don't have to repeat it. Watch back. Yeah, I agree. I think the Nets are probably the only team that's like has a chance of being significant.
I agree. And even then, if the Nets are worse than us and we're the second worst team in the NBA, who gives a shit? As long as we're bottom 4, that's all that matters.
hopefully we can get the lottery luck again for the second time. We're at 45 minutes, so I mean we finished there since you're this.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Okay.
Let us know what you guys think about this tier list in the comments. If there's any teams that you would be moving around, like, you know, maybe this one of the teams we're never ever going to mention again, you really had some really good memories of. Share that in the comments. Let us know. And thanks for watching. We'll be back next week.
I also want to say thank you for the people who watched the last one and interacted, because I did not expect that one to get as many views as it did. So thank you to everyone who subscribed or commented. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Me and Ben were talking. We never expected to get anything more than 20 views on any of these. So it was really fun to have something like that. If not blow up, just get some more attention, generate some discussion. Yeah.
Excited for the season next year. We'll see you guys when the first Summer League is, when the Summer League roster is announced.
Yeah, I think we'll probably do our next episode after the Summer League rosters, or maybe after the
We might do a quick Summer League roster hit, like 10, 15 minutes.
Yep.
All right. We'll see you then.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy DG. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. Nothing major. We hitting the wizard bed tonight, baby. Let's get it, Gafford out.